Wow.
Now, I'll tell you what. There are Muslims in Africa who practice African traditionalism.
Yes.
And yet they are Muslims.
Yes.
There are Christians who practice African traditionalism.
Yes.
And yet they are Christians.
True, that is true.
And there are also pure African traditionalists who just practice the religion.
True.
I was an enumeration officer in Ghana in 1970, population census. And I will go to a village and try to take the census and ask a person, what is your religion? They tell me they are Christians. And they are not Christians. But they want to be part of the bigger entity here. So they just say they're Christians. So if you're using it based on a population census, right, you can never quantitate, you can never actually get the
real
number of Africans who are practicing traditionalism.
True.
And there are also diasporan traditions in Haiti, in Dominican Republic, in Cuba, in Jamaica, in Brazil, where you got voodoo hoodoo, candomblé, all of that are still African traditionalist practices. Right.
Now let's come back to the heart of the show, how to unite the Africans for self-empowerment.
Okay.
The question that I ask you is that, is religion a source of power or empowering for Africans, or it weakens us?
It has both reactions. It has both reactions. When your religion is based on propaganda, Christianity and Islam is a conflict by itself. Muslims don't want Christians to practice their religion. Christians want to convert non-Christians, like traditionalists. And sometimes it can be barbaric. The name calling, calling somebody primitive, calling somebody worshiping the devil, and all those things can bring conflict. But, you and I are sitting here and talking together, interacting. If Africans of high intellect in the various denominations could sit down as you and I are interacting, we can resolve Africans' problems. There shouldn't even be a religious problem in Africa. Because if African Christians know that Christianity left Africa and went to Europe and came back, they will never insult a traditionalist. Islam. There are African names, like Bilal ibn Rahib, who was an assistant to Muhammad. If African Muslims are in a position to give history back to their masses, back to their believers, not necessarily the hierarchy, the ordinary people, they'll come to a realization that this thing, we're in it together. For the people in the Sudan, the government of the Sudan, to try to tell the people of Darfur, the Muslims of Darfur, who have practiced Islam for over 1,200 years, that they need to be reconverted. That is a problem. Now, it needs Muslims from Nigeria, from Gambia, from Ghana, from Tanzania, from South Africa, even Egypt and Libya, to tell the Sudanese authorities that is not the right way to go. But if we leave it, it becomes a crisis. That's why we have genocide in Darfur. I think it can be resolved. It can be resolved, but it needs people of goodwill to sit down and try to work it out. For example, Nkrumah said that African traditionalism is the foundation of religion in Africa. Islam to the east and Christianity to the west. That is a pyramid. That is a triangle. So if we know this, if our political leaders like Kwame Nkrumah knew this and was telling us this, if we had taken that blueprint, we would not be having the problems we're having in Nigeria.
Sure.
Boko Haram can say that they want to learn only from the east, they don't want to learn from the west, right? But the world is no longer like that. You cannot rely on one areas, you know, for higher learning.
Is there any conflicts between traditional practices and the modern way of life?
No. No. The thing about traditionalism is this. When you are impoverished and when you are in a village setting, sometimes you don't know what is good about education. So that is where the conflict is. And the conflict is that when they see the educated person comes back to them, they really don't know how to deal with him. Because here's a case where they are confronted with this new study and this guy coming back, maybe it's coming back to tell us that we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, and it has been, you know, part of our life all throughout. But if the educated people go back to the villages and tell them they are part of them, and then they shouldn't be afraid of them, you know, there shouldn't be a conflict. But the conflict is basically on the grounds that the people who have the structures, the powerful structures, are not educated. And sometimes they just don't understand where these educated persons come from. That's why you have things known as secret societies, because they don't want to disclose information, because they think that by disclosing the information, you're going to do something to dampen their powers. Right.
What does crime and punishment, I mean, how do you handle crime and punishment? Somebody killed or murdered innocent person, or commit adultery, or stole something. How do you punish?
Well, that goes back to the traditional rulers. Traditional religion also has the traditional rulers. That is their arena.
Okay.
Because we still have kings.
Okay.
And we still have queens. You know, so when a crime is committed, there's a structure. Before the colonials, the Europeans came to Africa, they had structures in which they had a judicial system. Okay. And that is the area that administers. Okay. The high priest, it doesn't deal with that. Okay. If you're a thief, if you stole somebody's stuff and they picked you up, they send you to the king. He has to administer that. Right. So there are different types of punishments. If you had to be given 20 whips, they'll give you 20 whips, things like that nature. And if they had to imprison you, they lock you up too. They had rooms, prisons in which that they put their people. Right.
Yeah. I think we have about 4 more minutes left. Very educational program. So I am the first students of African traditionalism.
Good.
But isn't it, you know, the behavior of the colonist is more, I mean, it's worse than practicing, let's say, Christianity or Islam. I mean, did the colonists, the Europeans, the Europeans' behavior toward the Africans make African traditional believers to distance themselves from whatever they deem associated with Europeans, or is these religions themselves? What I'm trying to say is that Christianity was there before the Europeans.
Right.
I mean, was it different then than after the Europeans came with their barbaric way of dealing with the Africans?
Yeah, it was there, but you see, the thing is this. When the African religion went to Europe, right, it didn't come back right away. It stayed until the changes of power. Power changed from Greece to Rome. Then power changed from Rome to Great Britain and France. And then before it came back to Africa. And then when it came back to Africa, it came back with machine guns or bazookas, and then the brutalization of the people. And then that was when they actually shocked the people. And whatever they told them, especially when they started education, the first generation scholars, all what they were indoctrinating them was to go back and tell their people that whatever they were doing is no good. And that's where that's how the propaganda worked. Even though today, scholars, and I just indicated to you that there are Muslims who practice traditionalism, especially the Darfuris in Darfur. The reason why Sudan is attacking them is because of the fact they want to keep the semblance of African traditionalism with them. They just don't want everything to go away. And that's why they're afraid of them. So our indigenous people were afraid of our own people who had gone to study and come back because of the fact that they used to even call African elite as black white people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because here's a case whereby this guy no longer looks like, and then when they came back from London, they built them a bungalow to divide them from going back to their own people. So that is the conflict. Right.
So here in the West, you know, the movies and, you know, the horror stories song about voodoo and all these things. What do you think about voodoo in relationship to the African tradition?
Voodoo is part of the African traditionalism.
Okay.
It's a diasporan tradition. Voodoo is practiced in Dahomey. Voodoo is practiced in Togo. Voodoo is practiced in Ghana. The Ewe people of Ghana practice voodoo. But basically that is the propaganda part. When you see the negative movies about voodoo, it's basically the propaganda.
Well, I think well said. We had a wonderful hour of education.
Right.
I'm glad that we began the year with our African traditionalist practices. And with that, I say thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll have you one more time to continue on the education. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Once again, Happy New Year. And God bless you, and see you next week.
Ani is a northern Ghanaian name. It is a Kassena name. The Kassena share boundaries with the Nankansi, a misnomer of Grunsi or Frafra people. A female member of the Kassena people can be named Anu. It is also an Akwapium name. Should Africans allow Sir Wallace Bear conclusion to stand? With this editorial, let us go back and look at Listerville's Middleton's poem, The Origins of Things. Middleton is talking to a black child. Look around you, black child. Your creation is everywhere. Though painted, distorted, and given new names, they bear your prints just the same. Your creations are everywhere. Take, for example, the writer or scribe who authored the papyrus of Ani, that was later deciphered, transliterated, and translated.